Welcome everyone to this week's episode of Esports Wrap. I'm your host, Michael Armogan, and today we're going to be talking about Destiny 2. With us, we've got two very good gamers and friends of mine who are going to be our guests today. Dwan, who was here last Esports Wrap. Dwan, you have anything you want to tell anyone?
No. You mean about the Overwatch announcement?
I mean, if you want to, you can do that.
They're bringing back Junkenstein's Revenge. Yay. That's it.
And Chris, who most of you would probably know from being on our Tech Talk segments.
Hey.
That's all you guys.
As you leave that like awkward pause there, you like feel something in with. No thanks.
You're welcome. You're most welcome. Oh, we've got D'Angelo who's watching us right now. Apparently he says, "Hi Dwan, turn on the light."
Hi.
Okay. So Destiny 2 is of course a sequel to the popular game that was only console, Destiny, of which you play as a guardian, and the storyline is based around, from what I surmise, to be protecting the traveler, get your lights, use the lights, so on and so forth. I am summarizing heavily. And I'm going to leave it to whoever wants to actually delve into the actual mythos of the game a little bit.
I think Dawn knows
What's
more
that,
about the law
Chris?
than I do. You know way more about law than more than
No,
I
I know a bit of the story. I don't know too much about the laws.
do. Okay, well you know more of the story than I do because you played one. I didn't play like one completely. I didn't finish one. You did.
Well, basically the story is about planet Earth and how this the worldly artifact just decided to mosey on by and make a pit stop on Earth called the Traveler. And it introduced the golden age, which is basically when technology kind of like advanced, like it was really advanced. And after something happened, and there was a bunch of wars, and they ended up getting the light from the Traveler. I'm really horrible at this. They ended up getting the light from the Traveler, and I like before that it was like this like war with these different races called the Hive, the Fallen, and later on down the line it was taken, and in between those wars, the Traveler basically gave them the ability to bring back the dead with these little mechanical creatures called ghosts. And because of Commander Zavala, who built like this big wall on Earth and basically put everybody behind the wall to protect them, they became the Guardians to basically protect the wall and anything that tried to take the Traveler away, basically. Because the Traveler had gone dormant after a while. There's like a bunch of different storylines, like the one with Siva and the one with the Fallen and the Hive. So it's a lot. It's a lot.
Okay, well, I think that's a pretty good summary. Just now, since we're actually going to get into the sequel of it, what would you say is the real difference between Destiny 2 and Destiny in terms of storyline?
Well, for now, the story is a bit more concrete and focused. It's not like, I wouldn't say it was all over the place in the first one, but they had so many, because it's the beginning, so you have so much things to touch on. Like you have the lore, you have the history, you have individual like side characters that you have to account for. So it wasn't like they already set the premise for all of that. So in the next sequence, in the next game, like there wasn't a need to delve too deep into the backstory because they already established that. So the story now is a bit more concrete and a bit more focused and a bit more in the present, not relying heavily on what had happened in the past. So that would be the difference I would note.
Okay. Now, let's actually just jump into a little bit of the gameplay. Now, I know back when they started up with the betas, they started off with console, and then they did the beta for the console, turned that off, did the beta for the PC. Now I know I played the beta for the PC. How did you guys enjoy the beta experience?
Well, I didn't get a chance to play the beta.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't play beta either.
Okay. I'm not sure if what I experienced was the beginning to the story for Destiny 2 for the beta and PC. That's pretty much like when you start off, you're jumping around. You can. Actually, yeah, I think it is, because then that's the cutscene when you get pushed off the ship. Yeah,
That's a little after. Yeah.
Okay. So, with the gameplay and moving past beta and to actually the launch now, how have you guys found the game? Honestly and truly, as a shooter, well, let's start off with the storyline. Have you guys enjoyed the story?
It's way better than the first. The first is boring. It was. I played the first. I didn't finish the first because the first was boring. The story was enough to keep me, and then I started playing the first one by the time like everyone was like already like well into the game. So like it wasn't like a bunch of people's around for like me to like go up with. So literally it was just like the story and then like the gameplay to hold me, and the gameplay was good, but again without the people around, it's like gameplay gonna do so much. And then the story was just like I don't know what's going on, but I just shoot and stuff. Like that's kind of how it was. But in Destiny 2, like I actually stopped to actually watch the cutscenes. Like I actually didn't skip through all of the cutscenes. I actually sat down and watched them because they were actually interesting. They actually like it actually caught my attention. So the storyline I would say is a lot better in Destiny 2 than it was in 1.
And how was your experience with it, Dwan?
Same thing. Agreed. Because the first one, it was. I started playing it because of my brother, so, and like he was only there like for so long. So on the off chance that I played by myself, like when it came to story, I was kind of lost in terms of what was happening. So I think in Destiny 2, that's something like they were trying to focus on. Because like I said, the first one was like it had a lot to cover, so I can understand why it was like that. But the second one was an improvement.
Okay. So, Dwan, can you just repeat that last part for us?
I was saying.
Yeah.
I was saying I agree with Chris because the first story, when I played it with my brother, when he wasn't there explaining to me what was happening, it kind of seemed like all over the place. Like it wasn't as put together or as clear as the part 2. Because like I said, in the first one, they had a lot to cover. So it was understandable that it was like that.
Okay. So when we get to the end of the story and we're finishing it, how do you feel as, does it feel like that's the ending? Do you wish there was more, that they added more?
Not really. I think my issue with the story lies in more the beginning. Because there's a key thing that happens. I mean, I don't know. It's a minor spoiler, but whatever. I'm not going to spoil it, even though a lot of people played it already. But there's something that happens pretty much to you, and I thought it was brilliant. Like I just thought it was so good, but like it immediately happens to you, and then in the next mission they undo it, and it's like I only get like really. Like literally the first mission they undo what happened. Like and what happens because it's in the intro. Like in the intro, at the end of the intro, something very traumatic happens, whatever, blah blah blah. And it completely shifts the idea of what you think. Like I don't know, I just found that I thought it was pretty cool. And then but then the second it happens is like you probably go through like you just make your way to the first mission and then at the end of the first mission it's undone. And it's like I think that it should have been longer. Like they should have left us in that state longer, and I think that would have been cool for the story and just for the overall experience. But at the end, it's fine. Like thought the ending was adequate, I guess. It wasn't like, oh my god, amazing, but it wasn't horrible, like bad. It was good. It was a good ending.
How about you, Dwan?
I think we have something to expect based on the way it ended and how abruptly it ended. So I think there's more to be said. So I'm just waiting to see what Bungie does in that regard before I have anything to say.
Okay. I know there were some people that were saying something along the lines of the big bad and for the storyline. He's one of the least terrifying bosses that you probably ever have in Destiny. And I can see the look on your face, Dwan. That's probably true. One person went so far as to call him a marshmallow. Or
Wow.
a naked mole rat in a power suit.
Wow.
But do you feel like that was a good boss, like end boss to have?
I didn't really think he was that challenging. If that's a good enough of an answer. He wasn't all that, like, especially like after what we had already been through. Like, it was anticlimactic for me personally.
Hold on, say again?
And the almighty part was solid.
I'm looking at your chat and I have no idea why Matrix, aka D'Angelo, ran through campaign 6 times. But okay. So he's not that challenging. He's not the best. He's a naked mole rat that looks like a marshmallow. Okay. We've established this. So when you finish your campaign, by this time you more than likely are level 20 now. You probably would have reached level 20 from beforehand.
Yeah, it's pretty easy.
That raises the question, does it really make sense to have a level cap? And like for it to specifically say level 20 when you reach it so quickly?
I mean, my issue isn't with the leveling, like leveling up. I think they could have done a better job with it. But in the end game, I mean, you're really checking for your light level. And I think what they should do is, because if I were to go around, like if I were to log in now and like go to like a public event and then I'll see like a bunch of people running around, I'll see like, oh, they have like your level like right next to it and everyone is like level 20. That's kind of pointless because after you hit level 20 doesn't matter anymore. Like it doesn't matter. So what I think they should do is swap it from level 20 to light level, because that's really the thing that matters. And because in reality, I mean, yeah, your level doesn't really matter because it is not really the thing that makes you stronger. All it is give you access to more skills, which is whatever. But what really makes you stronger, what really tells your ability to do damage, is your light level. And you have that light level from level 1. So they could probably do without it.
How do you feel about it, Dwan?
Well, in the last one they had a cap, but I think that was like after they announced that they were making Destiny 2. So I don't know. The light level is more important, like Chris said, so it doesn't really matter if they have a level or not to me personally. It's just something to aim for, and then like something to focus on in that moment, and then when you hit it, then you have something else to focus on.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that because light levels, from what I understand, it's also hard to sometimes go over a particular wall. Like I think the wall for many people is, and please correct me, is about either 250 or 270, somewhere up in there. Where it gets harder to move on higher up.
260, around between 260 and 265. Because light levels basically are every piece of weapon and armor you have has a certain level attached to it. So a light level would be pretty much the average of all of those levels. So, for example, if all of your weapons and equipment are 160, then your light level would be 160 because that's the average. So that's pretty much what it is, and like you have that from the start because at the start, all of your equipment starts off at 100. So like technically, you start off at 100 level and you just rise from there. I mean, the level portion itself, like from level 1 to 20, it's honestly, it's really not important, like at all.
Okay.
It's really the light level which is really important.
Gotcha. We have someone, D'Angelo's asking if have any of you done Leviathan as of yet?
We have done Leviathan. I haven't beaten Leviathan though. But we've done it.
You guys are still gonna try and beat it though, right?
Of course.
Eventually, yeah.
Eventually.
Oh.
No, I mean.
Promising. That's not promising. Eventually. Oh
Eventually, yeah.
Remember the circle, right? Circle of negativity?
Yeah.
Positivity. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, speaking of things like that, how do you guys find like the nightfalls, the raids, things like that?
Nightfalls are fun. Raids are. I love the raid. I won't lie. I love the raid. I love the raid. I love the mechanics. I just think that the raid was very well done, very well polished, and I think it's fun. I think it really is. I think the mechanics of it are pretty challenging. I think the mechanics are interesting too. Like, I really love the Callus fight mechanics. Like, I just thought that was brilliant. I thought the Callus fight mechanics was brilliant. I thought the Gauntlet mechanics were brilliant, and pretty much those are just different encounters. Because the raid has like 4, technically 5 different encounters. The reason why I say technically 5 is because one of the encounters is kind of like a way to open up the other encounters, and it's the way you go about getting to those encounters. And then on top of all of that, like, they also have like this completely like underground section of the entire ship that you're on. So it's like just this, they call it the underbelly, and there's pretty much just this underground networking that can pretty much get you to like every room. And I just find that so cool. Like, you could just literally go in there and like explore for like a long time, because a lot of people get lost in there. So I just think it was so cool. Like, I think their raid is phenomenal. Like, I'm actually excited to see the next raid that they do.
What's your take on it, Dwan?
I like the raid for the challenge because I'm very competitive, but sometimes it literally will, if you let it, make you pull your hair out. Like, it really requires everybody to pull their own weight. So you need like a really good team.
So you wouldn't really suggest newcomers to say, go and try the raid?
What would you consider newcomer, or newcomer to the raid, or
newcomer to the game, to the kind of like shooter MMO or shooters?
Shooter looter.
Well, to start, you have to be a certain light level to gain access to a raid to begin with. So you have to be somewhat familiar. So there's no newcomer I would say who would be playing that. So it's just a matter of learning the mechanics and paying attention.
Okay. D'Angelo says that, well, it seems that he doesn't like the dogs inside the raid element.
Oh man, that's my favorite encounter.
I actually like the dogs.
Yeah, me too. I love the dogs. I think it was a really.
I think the dogs require a level of patience that not a lot of people have. That's why I end up hating it. But I actually really do like the dogs.
Because the dogs is normally when people play these type of games, they expect to just like run around and shoot stuff.
Fast paced.
Yeah. But the dogs demand you actually have to be. It demands a kind of stealth. How the mechanics work is, you have 2 levels. You have pretty much the top level, which is you have 2 prisms, and then you need 2 people to pick up the prisms, and then they can jump from like these rocks around the place, because like these rocks are just that tower above the bottom floor. And the bottom floor, we call it the jungle. It's like a jungle. It has a thick fog when you're down there, but when you're up, you can see clearly. But when you're in it, it's like very foggy and it's very dark. But when you're up, it's very lit. It's very lit. You can see pretty much everything. And the goal is the 4 remaining people on your team, they have to pretty much navigate through this jungle and find the glowing flowers. And when they find the glowing flowers, they all need to stand by it, and then the players on top of the prism will stand in the light and shine the light using the prism on the flower to make it explode and give a buff to all of the players, to their team members. And the goal is to stack that buff as much as you can before the dogs spot you. And so the dogs are just patrolling around, and the 4 players down at the bottom, on the bottom floor, they have to pretty much be stealthy to avoid those dogs. And so you can't just be running around like running and gunning. You actually have to be very stealthy and move through it. And then the players on top, of course, could direct you and help you. So that's where the communication aspect comes in. And I just thought it was just, I actually really liked that encounter. I really liked that encounter a lot. I thought it was pretty cool. I think my least favorite encounter has to be the bathhouse, because it's just so basic compared to like the rest. It's just a basic encounter compared to the rest. The gauntlet is just very interesting and unique. The dogs are very interesting and unique, and Callus himself is also very interesting and unique. But I think the bathhouse is just like, I could imagine that being inside just in any other game.
So, Dwan, what would you say is your favorite encounter and least favorite encounter?
Yeah, with the raid?
Yeah.
I actually don't mind the bathhouse once, like I said, everyone pulls their weight and they communicate. Like the bathhouse is fine.
Pulls their weight.
Literally.
Literally.
As long as they do what they're supposed to do when they're supposed to do it, like the bathhouse should be no problem. I love the dogs, because if you're good at stealth games like Assassin's Creed, Throwback, like Splinter Cell and all those kind of games, like if you like those kind of stuff, like the bathhouse is your thing. Like that's you. I don't know. I don't really have a least favorite, because I kind of like them all, but I'd say the what is the one with the key? What's that one?
That's not a encounter per se. That's the one where we just open up the doors. It's weird. It's like an encounter because we have to do stuff and kill people, but it's not really an encounter because it's the mechanic we do to open up every single last door.
And I've never made it to Callus, so personally, I don't hate him yet. I've never made it there yet.
Callus is fun. Like those mechanics are just beautiful. Okay, so why I say here's why I say the mechanics for Callus is just amazing, because pretty much you're in this throne room, right, with him, and okay, when you enter, first of all, he's just chilling like a boss, just like literally chilling there with a cup in his hand. That's just him. He just chilling there with a cup in his hand, a chalice in his hand, and you walk inside there, you run around, whatever. He don't care. You have a chalice in his hand. Who are you? Little peasants. So of course, at some point, you get upset or whatever, so you shoot like the chalice out of his hand. Now you piss him off. You don't fuck with the man wine. You don't like screw this wine. So mess with his wine. He's upset. So he gets up and he like sends all his boys after you, whatever, You kill them, and eventually he'll send everyone into this place we'll call the Shadow Realm. And it's pretty much looks like you expect the Shadow Realm to look. And inside the Shadow Realm, there'll be 3 portals, and then you have 6 party members now, 6 in your team. And so 3 people go into those portals, and they'll get sent back to the throne room. Now, the remaining 3 people are stuck inside the Shadow Realm. And what they have to do is they have to duck down, well, not duck, but they have to kneel down by, like, there's a small little, like, it's almost like a little picket fence, except it's, like, made out of energy. You just go and you, like, kneel down by that. And in doing that, what happens is, in this Shadow Realm, there's like a big head and like 2 hands or whatever. There's like a big head, pretty much, like a big Cabal head. And what this head is doing is this head is like just sucking. It's huge. It's sucking. So it's trying to suck in the players inside the Shadow Realm to eat them. That little barrier prevents them from being sucked into his mouth and dying and pretty much eating them to death, swallowing them. Now, if they jump, they die, because, of course, he's trying to suck them, so they die. Now, what happens is that there's a timer on that little ledge before it disappear, and they just start sliding towards him. On his head, there's a symbol, and every single player inside there, all 3 players, see a completely different symbol, and they now have to communicate back to their teammates in the throne room to say, "Hey, we see this symbol, and this symbol." They'll call it the 3 different symbols that they see. The players in the throne room will pinpoint. They say this one, and this one, and there are platforms for each symbol. Now, there aren't 3 platforms, there are 4 platforms. So when they find out the symbols that they hear, they ignore those platforms and they kill the remaining one, the one that they didn't hear, they kill the monster that's on that. And then when they do that, they spawn another ledge to protect their teammates inside the Shadow Realm from flying into his mouth. And you have to do that about several times until you end up like right in front of him. And once you end up in front of him, he decides to spew out like skulls at your teammates, and they have to then shoot those skulls. The more skulls that they shoot, it applies a buff, and that buff increases, and you want to get about, I would say, at least more than 60 kills on that. And then after that, they all got sent back to the throne room, and this is the time when you have to actually, first of all that happens, you have not damaged the boss yet. Like all of that were explained, you haven't damaged the boss yet at all. And once you go back to the throne room, then you can finally damage the boss when all of you can jump on top of a platform and any of the 4, but typically you want to be together and then you can damage the boss that way. And based on the amount of skulls you kill, that's how much your damage will increase. So the more skulls you kill, the higher the damage you will inflict on the boss. And I just think that that's a really cool mechanic, with the fact that the 3 people inside the Shadow Realm all see different symbols. Like that's crazy. That alone is crazy, because it demands now for you to actually communicate with your team verbally. Like it really does demand communication. Like there's really no way you could try to get around that. There were 2 people who did cheese it. They used a glitch, so they were able to 2-man it, but that shouldn't be possible because they shouldn't have used a glitch. But other than that, I really like that encounter. That encounter is super cool.
I was actually going to bring up that that little cheese glitch kind of thing. How is that? Like, I'm trying to still figure out, how is it possible, since it needs 3 people because there's 3 different symbols? How is it possible that they could do it with only 1 person in the Shadow Realm?
Well, the glitch is of course, the 2 people end up in the Shadow Realm, so 1 will go back to the Throne Room, and the one who remains in the Shadow Realm will run I'm telling the glitch, whatever, they'll patch it. Will run all the way to the right, and then when you go all the way to the right, you just complete, it doesn't matter, you just do whatever, and eventually he'll hit, like, it's a little obstacle that's in the way that'll stop him from sliding into the Cabal's mouth. And from there, he can just shoot as need be, because he can't go into the mouth anymore, because he found like a physical, actual thing that's blocking his path. So I don't think they should be able to go across that far. So I'm pretty sure that's going to get patched out, because it completely destroys the whole point of the mechanic. And it's not like a clever way of doing it. It's more like you're just banking on this obstacle that just happens to be there. So
technically, isn't today a patch day?
Yeah, they were doing maintenance just now.
So they may have already fixed that.
Possibly.
Okay, so Nightfalls. Can you tell me a little bit more about this now, and like how they come into play with things? Juan, you want to jump in on that one this time?
Nightfalls are like strikes. Are they the same? Nightfall, they're like strikes. They basically take whatever strike you could do, and they turn it into a nightfall. And it's like 10 times harder, and the enemies are way stronger. I think every time you have like a time limit where you have to complete it, so it's basically like a challenge.
Okay. And what's the purpose of doing these?
I think they go towards the climb too. Yeah.
What's the purpose of doing anything? Loot.
Okay.
Sweet loot.
They also I think every week like they have a reset. Like they give you a certain set of milestones that you have to achieve, and every week you have to finish a nightfall. Like that's a milestone requirement. And sometimes you get like loot, like a legendary engram, I think it is.
Sometimes, every time. Loot.
I mean, I was trying to remember if it was exotic or legendary. Some milestones give you exotic. Some of them give you powerful engrams. Some legendary.
It's luck. They most give you powerful engrams, and it's just luck on whether it becomes a legendary or an exotic. But mostly exotics.
So, I'm trying to understand this here. You play through your storyline, you do side quests, you do nightfalls, you try to raise your light level so you become more powerful. Hello?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
No, I didn't see anyone moving, and everything went silent. And then you continuously do that. Are there any suggestions for new players that you would probably give?
I would. I mean, it depends. I would say honestly, if you're just, it depends on what you want to do. If you're just playing to have fun, then just play to have fun. If you like want to get like you have specific purposes, you want to get like a really high light level very fast, then there are guides and stuff like that we can give to like tell you how to do that. But it's not really necessary if you're just trying to play the game and have fun. Like just go at the game, and honestly, like the game is made in such a way that even through casual play, you'll be able to get like a decent light level in no time.
Okay. Dwan, you have anything you'd like to suggest, or?
I mean, if anybody's interested in doing nightfall,
Well, just the game on a whole.
just give it a try. You never know, you may like it. I didn't think I was gonna like it because for the longest my brother was trying to get me to play Destiny 1, and I blew him off. But right before Destiny 2 came out, like 2 months before, I threw the game. I said, just give it a try. If you like first person shooters, give it a try.
Okay. Slight question I probably shouldn't be asking you guys. Would you prefer Destiny 2 over another shooting franchise?
Like what? It has no competition. The only competition it has is the Division, and that's garbage. So, I mean, Destiny 2 is a unique. It's not just a first-person shooter. It's not like Call of Duty. It's not like Overwatch. It's literally a looter shooter where they take like aspect. It's closer to Diablo than it is Call of Duty. Like that's the kind of game Destiny is. It just happens to deal with guns and first-person shooting than it does have to do with like top-down, third-person like running around. Like that's all. But I would say that with Destiny 2, though, they have taken a step back away from a lot of the RPG elements that made Destiny 1 so much of a unique game, and they are kind of sliding more like towards the Halo, where they are sliding back towards just being a generic old first-person shooter because of a lot of the detail and small subtle things that they took away from Destiny, that they changed completely, they removed completely from the game. They removed a lot of RPG elements from the game. So I would say that even though it still is weird it still is in a weird place because it's unique. It doesn't really have much competition. It is starting to slide more towards a Halo style game.
Would you suggest Destiny 2 or another game for those who are interested in shooters? Or you have a comment as to what Chris said?
No.
Okay. So, I think we're gonna end this week's episode here, as Chris's light just like goes off, envelops him in darkness.
Traveler got caught.
What's this thing?
I lost a traveler. Gall just showed up.
Oh god.
Kicked me off the tower. Oh.
Okay, actually, before we go, I just have a slight question about the Traveler. Like, didn't inside one of the games they say the Traveler died?
No.
Yeah, like I remember there was like this cutscene of where they said, or something like the Traveler can no longer do certain things. That's why he made ghosts and something to the effect that he died.
Territory. Spoiler territory. Basically, the Traveler gets captured, pretty much, locked up, to be carted away. And what Gall does, because Gall is the villain of the whole series, whatever, he takes away your light. And the Traveler gave you the light, and the light is what causes you to, like, when you die, the light brings you back. So you're pretty much immortal. And so he takes away your light, he kicks you off the tower like a peasant, and you fall. Somehow you don't die. I need to look into that. I don't know, like,
Because that looked pretty. That was like space level,
peaceful
wasn't it?
fall.
Almost.
Space level?
Well, okay. It was
Nah,
high
it
up in the
wasn't, no.
atmosphere.
It was high up because where that happened, it was where
It's a tower.
Sabala, yeah, it was a tower. That's where Sabala built to protect the city. So it wasn't like that high up. It's just that the Traveler is really, really low, really, really big.
Well, I was thinking space because at that point you would have taken a ship to get to the main ship that you're gonna.
Just a plane,
Still high
like a
altitude.
helicopter.
Still high altitude.
I mean, if you need,
It felt
Listen,
like a ship to
first
me
of
more
all-
than anything.
first of all, this tower is like literally crawling with enemies. So the best way to get to the top is just jump on a ship, fly up to the top, drop you there, bam, good to go. Now to run in and do your stuff. So we do that, and yeah, we get kicked off the tower. So
And the people who
Yeah.
took you up there also died. Do they actually die?
no, they don't die.
So they just left you in suspense. Nice.
So
Nice.
everyone just scattered. Like everyone trying to live like survival.
Self-preservation.
Exactly. If you're dead, tough luck, you dead. You can't do nothing. Light gone.
Gotcha.
Running through entire teams. It wasn't fun. That's why I was a bit hesitant to play it on the second one. But the second one is a bit more balanced. So
Okay. Chris, what's your thoughts?
I mean, what my Destiny and PvP, they're trying to make this thing into esport, and it's not ever going to be esport. They need to stop. And they're balancing the entire game around PvP, and it's hurting PvE. When
Yep.
PvE is what they shown, what was such a great part of the game in the first one. Like, that is why people came. People come to play Destiny for PvE, not PvP. And PvP has always been something that's on the side, and they should leave it on the side. In terms of PvP itself, why did they even think adding supremacy was a great idea? I have no idea. But supremacy is like probably, when I watch PvP games like Overwatch, Call of Duty, League of Legends, when I watch those games, I don't even need to know a lot about those games, and I can get hype about what's going on in those games. I know what's going on in Destiny, and I don't even get hyped about my own game that I'm playing. So imagine someone else watching. Like it's just not gonna be like they just don't have it. Like they're trying, but it's just not there, in my opinion.
Now, I know a lot of gamers, especially those that play MMOs, they typically most games that are at that kind of like A+ level or thereabouts. There's always been a little bit of an issue when it comes to PvE versus PvP and balancing things out, because if you use PvE gear, then it does more damage to a regular player, so you have to balance things out for PvP so people aren't dying so quickly. I know that was a really big issue with World of Warcraft and a number of other games. I'm guessing that's kind of what's happening here, where they don't want to make things too powerful. Like, and please correct me if I'm wrong. They're pretty much making gear so that it works it works fairly in PvP, even if though it may undercut the PvE element. Is that what you're saying?
Well, yeah, they kind of water down all the gear across the board. So there really isn't any PvP versus PvE gear. There's just gear, and they just water down all the gear. Took out a lot of the RPG elements out of the gear. Like before, gear had stats. Now they don't have stats. Before you had like multiple different like mods and like interesting things that you could equip on them. They watered down the mod system a lot. Like exotics, you cannot. You don't see exotics with like random modifiers on them anymore. Like they're just all the same. All of them are exactly the same. So they watered down the gear a lot just to make it like, I guess, an even playing field in PvP, but it came at a detriment to PvE. Like there's really no real reason to grind for anything. Like in Diablo, your gear in Diablo, like it has random generated stats. So you may get the gear piece you want, but it probably doesn't have the stats you want. So now you have to go farm to get this one piece over and over and over. Like that takes time. Like that is what keeps people playing the game, and that's not currently in Destiny 2 at all.
Okay. Dwan, how do you feel about the... Oh, crap. Where's my headphones? Okay. Dwan, how do you feel about the experience that you get from PvP versus PvE?
To be honest, I can only play PvP for so long until I get really bored of it. Like Chris mentioned, like compared to the other first-person shooters that I play, like Overwatch. I don't know if it's fair to like compare the two because Overwatch is like solely a PvP game, but like I have way more fun playing Overwatch than I do Destiny. Just that it has that element there. It's like you have the game, and then it's just like, okay, they just decided to throw that in to just please like a couple of the gamer masses who enjoy that kind of stuff, so they don't feel left out. Compared to PvE, like everyone can play it. I play that like the raids and the nightfall, the strikes, and I like to play them over and over and over and not get bored at all. But for some reason with PvP, it's just like something about it just ain't catching me.
Now, I remember at one time there was someone that said a line that kind of stuck with me. And I think it was back during E3. It's that a game company cannot make an esport. The esport is something that is built by the community. Much like how Nintendo's Super Smash Brothers. That never really was meant to become an esport, but the community enjoyed the game so much in playing it, it has become one. What's your feelings when it comes to the game companies themselves trying to push something to say, hey, we developed this so it could become an esport, or like that's the direction we really want to see it. I think what's your expression? What's your feelings from it in terms of that, and then also in terms of how it's being played out in Destiny 2?
Mm, well, I know I read up on it a bit, and I know that Bungie really didn't. So they say that they didn't really intend for it to be like a esport, but I guess the way they modified it this time around, I suppose the second game was like, yeah, I don't play video, but the way they modified it is like they're like, okay, if the community wants it, they'll back them up on it. So they're like, okay, yeah, y'all can start your own. Y'all can organize it yourselves, and then we'll see how it goes. And then if it's something that turns into something big, then they want to hop on board and be like, okay, well, I support that. Which I mean, I kind of understand why. I mean, you don't want to hype up this certain element of your game, and then it flops. But then at the same time, like you working towards that anyway, so just do it. And if it flop, it flop. If not, take the L.
I saw where they clearly are trying to make it esport because in I think it was like 2 interviews that I saw with one of the developers. How they were answering the questions about PvP, it really sounded like they're trying to make it into esport. Like it sounds like that. It sounds like that's not something like they're not gonna like. They don't want to like come out and just be like, oh yeah, hey, we want Destiny to be esport. But just the way they answered certain things, it was like y'all wouldn't say that unless y'all planning to do an esport type thing. Like that's just how it came across. And given with all the changes that they make, what they've made, it's obvious that they are thinking about becoming an esport. Like, because there's really no other reason for them to make those changes. Like, why would you cripple your PvE in such a manner? Like, really, no one ever had a problem with those. Those things don't really take away from the game at all. Like, why would you remove it and cripple it? I mean, the only answer that fits is esports because they want PvP to become a bigger thing than it is.
Yeah, when it comes to games doing, and I could see where Chris is coming from with it in a sense. I think games really have to be careful when they start to do things like that, because when you really start to push one element of your game a certain way, and it starts to affect other things, and this goes for PvP as well, like on a whole, as well as esports or a number of other things. But when you really start to shift and change, it may end up pushing people away because they're realizing what you're trying to do, or they may not realize it and they just don't like the direction it's now heading because of these little subtle changes that you're making that you think are subtle, at least. That makes sense with that?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that's going to happen is Anthem is going to come and everyone's just going to leave Destiny and go to Anthem. That's pretty much all that's going to happen. I mean, no, like Destiny really isn't doing anything. Like, okay, I'm being serious here. Like, if the Division 2 was to come out right now, like I'm just saying, if Division 2 was to come out, I would see a lot of people. I wouldn't be surprised that a lot of people bought the Division 2 because a lot of people right now are bored of Destiny 2, and the Division sucks. But the Division is in that same genre of shooter or looter because there are not that many games that actually fulfill that role. And that's why like any game can come up right now and they can challenge Destiny. Destiny's not really in a strong point right now. The only thing that Destiny has is that it's new and it's shiny. That's literally it. Any other game can come out right now and they can be like, oh, hey, I mean, here's a looter shooter that's supposed to be like a AAA title. And guess what? I wouldn't be surprised to see Destiny lose a lot of players because a lot of people right now just started to play in the game where they're like, I could like log on for like maybe one day, do everything I have to do, and then I don't have to log on for a week until reset. That's a lot of people. I heard a lot of people saying that they just log in, they do their raid, they do their nightfall, they do their milestones, and some people can do that in like a day or like a night or two. Imagine people at work, they come home, they do it in a night or two, not even a day or two, a night or two after work, finish those things, and then they don't play again for a week. That is like a state of a lot of players right now in Destiny, like a lot of the higher end players, the players who you want to be the hardcore players who you want to continuously be using your game, yeah, that's how they feel about Destiny. And when you see your hardcore players are falling off like that, your casual players are gonna follow soon. Like, I don't know how you're gonna keep your casual players, because the casual players are eventually gonna hit the same point as your hardcore players, and then they're gonna drop, and they're definitely not gonna look back. Like, at least the hardcore players are gonna come back once a week. When their casual players drop, they don't come back once a week. They just stop playing.
So, let me get this right. One, you're saying come Anthem, people are gonna leave Destiny 2. Like, that's your
If they
hardcore.
stay on the track they are, yes. If they don't make some massive improvements to keep people in the game, yes. I'm not saying Destiny's a bad game, but I'm saying that they have not put themselves in a position to secure their position where they are.
Do you feel they're holding back content for when PC players come on a little bit later on this month?
Maybe, maybe not. But I mean, they might be. They might not. We won't know until that happens.
How do you feel, Dwan? Do you think they're holding back a little bit?
It's a possibility. I could see them doing it, but we won't know until release date.
That's like a month away. I mean, you still have to maintain your player base until like for a month.
Yeah.
So you can't be solely banking on just PC players when your game has always been a console game. So like, PC is not going to be your salvation.
Now, and excuse the background noise that I'm suddenly having. I know when it comes to certain games like that have raids and whatnot, you of course have the weekly. You do your raid, you do your weeklies as they call them, and then sometimes you have your dailies, which are like little side quests and stuff like that that you do and finish up, and that gives you other kinds of loot and so on and so forth. Destiny 2, would you see maybe benefiting from having a daily system as well?
Probably, but I mean, there's several things going on. I mean, a big reason why a lot of people don't find any need to grind anymore in Destiny 2 is because they made it so easy to get high level gear. They made it really easy to get high level gear. The max right now, I think, is 305, and I know quite a few people who are sitting at like 300 and 302, and they're like, should I really like invest a bunch of time just to get extra 3 light levels? I don't think so. Especially when most of the content in the game is literally built around, I think the highest is maybe 280. So there are like a full 20 light levels above the highest difficulty content in the game right now. So why should they keep playing? Like, even if a daily system was introduced, like, what loot are they gonna get? What is there for them to like run after? They already have some of the highest. They pretty much are above where they should be right now in the game. So the game isn't really offering them anything, like, at all. They're literally at the max. Like, there's nothing else to give them. So if you have a daily system, what are you giving them?
That's true. So do you think they should be probably coming out with when did it come out for consoles? I know it came out last month, but around when?
September 5th.
September 3rd?
5th.
5th. So it's been a little over. Hold on, wait. What is today exactly? It's almost been a month. It's almost been a month. People are already getting tired with the game.
People spend by week too.
So, in your opinion, the game could do with some more content right about now, or it could have done with some content for a while.
Well, it's not content, like I said. They the quickest fix for them, well, I shouldn't say quick, but one fix for them would be to introduce some type of like stat system back into exotics. to at least give some type of random feel to the exotics. Um, I mean, just adding in higher gear isn't really going to fix the problem, simply because people are going to get that gear and then what? There has to be some reason. There has to be some thing that people can grind over and over and over. That's very difficult to get. And like I said, again use Diablo as an example, you can get the gear. Like say you need a certain set piece, you can get the set piece, and like you can get like the whole set. And once you get the whole set, the next thing to do is to grind for specific pieces of those set to get a specific role on that set. Like that's a very difficult thing to do. Like you could literally be grinding for hours and not get it. Like,
Yeah.
or you could grind for 5 minutes and get it. It's RNG. Like it's all dependent on RNG. But the point is, it gets you to grind a lot. And Destiny needs something like that. Destiny needs something like the Greater Rift system inside Diablo, where you have stronger levels, and like the deeper you go, the better gear you can get, and the better you get, the deeper you can go. Like you just need that. Like Greater Rifts, you don't know. Like Greater Rifts don't have an end. They just keep going. The more powerful you get. Like that's just it. Like they just put in a little algorithm, whatever. So the algorithm increase the difficulty at every level, and so you need to get to a certain strength at every level, like in order to completely do it.
Now, Dwan, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't the original Destiny have like different difficulty levels?
I don't think so. Cause like I said, by the time I started playing, like they had already announced like this was a due 2 months before Destiny had dropped. So by that time, if they had any, like I don't think I would have experienced it. They just had the cap, which was like a level 40. I don't know what the cap was for light level, and I was just playing to get a feel for the game. Like I wasn't really paying attention to the mechanics or the designs or whatever the game had.
Okay, fair enough. From what I understand, though, there was a hard level or hard mode, essentially, in the game that, if I remember correctly, the developer said was the way how they wanted Destiny to really be played. Meaning, you know, it's much. Essentially, it's the hard mode. Oh, so
Well,
okay.
I think I know what you're talking about now. Okay, so in the first one, it basically was it had more emphasis on the light and basically the like how in Destiny 2 the raid you have to be, correct me if I'm wrong, 280. Your like level has to be like 280 or something like that. So 260, sorry. Anyway, so they would have like certain like levels would be considered like hard. So if you wanted to do a strike or something like that and the recommended light level was like 280, like to 300, that would be considered hard. And then like, you know, from down to another level would be medium and easy or whatnot. So basically it your level would be determined on how much light you got. Like it always went back to light and how much light you could get. So.
Do you think something like that could maybe help with the situation, Chris?
Wait, something like what?
The different levels of hardness, and then giving different levels of gear based on that. Or would you really say it's better just to go greater rift levels and have it continuously get harder and harder?
I mean, with their system right now, unless they solve the loot system, like they have to find some type of loot that's actually worth getting, like that's worth grinding for. Because if there's nothing worth farming for, then I don't see where they're gonna have much longevity. Because, like I said, there were at least some stats on the weapons on the first Destiny, which could be randomized. So you would want to get certain stats on your weapon. So you would want to try to get this weapon. Like you got this weapon, but it doesn't have the right stats. So you still want to try to get it again, so you can get better stats. Like that's something to farm. Like so now you have a reason to farm exotics because you want this specific exotic weapon to get these specific stats. But weapons don't have stats, so if you get this weapon, you get it again, it's the exact same weapon, no difference. So like there's really no reason to try to get more weapons again once you get it once.
Okay.
That's the problem there.
So suggestions are stats, better, well, a level, a difficulty mode kind of thing, where you get better gear the deeper you get into it. And of course, then that would mean harder content. I think they might have an issue with making some things harder and harder, especially if it's maybe, well, would you see them doing something like that with a raid, or just something like Nightfalls or something like that?
I like where raids are. Raids aren't, because that's like, while I did use Diablo as an example, Diablo has a problem where, my thing with Diablo is like things just become sponges. Like it's not really harder, they just sponges. So they just take more, like it takes a lot more to kill them. That's it. Like to me, that's not difficult. To like, you're just wasting my time at that point, because all you're doing is just giving it more HP. So I have to spend more time in order to kill it. That's not difficult. That's just a time sink. That's all it is. Difficulty would be in terms of like said, the difficulty in the raid is not actually killing the things per se. It's performing the mechanics in order to survive the encounter. That's the difficult part of the raid. Like the mechanics are, and getting used to the mechanics is what makes it difficult, because the mechanics are very interesting. The mechanics, it doesn't matter how much damage you do, you need to fulfill this mechanics, otherwise you're gonna fail. Like point blank. Now, when you get into a sponge war, basically, where everything just starts getting more and more HP, more and more toughness, getting like a lot more difficult to kill, then that's not, to me, that's not difficulty. To me, that's not making things more challenging at all. It's just wasting my time at that point. And that's why I would say, even though Diablo has something where there's a reason for you to farm, I wouldn't really particularly call that challenging or difficult. So I think those two things are two separate things. Like difficulty and finding something consistently challenging is one thing, which I think the raid accomplishes very well on its own. And then having a reason to farm, to farm for an item, is something completely different. So I think those two things are different, and I think they tackle the challenging part fine. Nightfalls are challenging. Raid is challenging. Nightfalls are kind of like a mini raid. Raids are good. I mean, see, the thing is with a raid is once you get used to it, it's going to become a lot easier the more you do it. So right now, I think only 11% or less than 11% of the population of the player base has actually completed the raid. Like that's a very small number. So the raid is challenging. Point is, the raid is challenging. Only 11% of the player base has actually completed it. So I would say that's challenging. Less than 4% of the player base has actually completed a prestige nightfall. So I mean, so I would say that that's challenging. I mean, people do a nightfall and they don't have to do prestige, so they're like, oh hell, we finished with the normal nightfall, so whatever. That's why a lot of people are asking for like nightfall specific gear, strike specific gear. Well, we have raid specific gear, but like they're asking for these things because that would then have people or encourage people to actually play those modes a little bit more.
Now, I had a thought. Where is it? It's gone. When it comes to the the challenge, what if you were to put in, I don't know, stuff like Final Fantasy elements into it to really make it challenging?
Like what?
I don't know. You're the Final Fantasy raid expert.
I'm the Final Fantasy raid expert. Jeez.
Between the two of us, yeah.
Final Fantasy is just a completely different game. I mean, the Final Fantasy is also big on mechanics as well. Like that's why I say a good raid focuses more on mechanics than anything else. And like their raid is fine. Their raid is perfect. I mean, well, I wouldn't say perfect, but their raid is like really good. Like I really, really, really was impressed by their raid. Like the certain mechanics that they had in it, I was like, wow, that's really creative. Like Destiny, good job. Like, I have no issues with their raid at all. My issues is with their reward system, and that's on gear, that's on loot, that's on items. I can't. I mean, the only thing, like, they can add more items, sure, but again, unless they make something interesting about those items themselves, or some like lock them behind some specific way. Like if prestige nightfall gear was only obtainable through prestige nightfalls, then I mean you'd have to do those to get that gear. Like they've started doing that a little bit. Like you have crucible only, you have like these different like only, but once you get them, it's like that's it. Like it isn't hard to get these things. Like it's not hard to get gear. It's not hard to get what you want. And once you get it, why am I gonna continue playing? Like, yeah, I'll jump on, I'll do some public events because public events are genuinely fun. Like, they genuinely are fun. But after about 15 minutes of doing public events, like, okay, I'm pretty much done. So then what? Then you move on.
Okay. I think that covers all of our topics that we have. I think. Do you guys have anything that you want to say about Destiny 2 or anything at all in regards to that?
New Monarchy or your Grammy? I lie. I want Future War to win. Did Future War win?
Dead Orbit won.
What?
Yep.
No. How did this happen?
You asking me?
Oh my goodness.
Wait,
I
what?
screenshot it. I'll post it in the group.
No, like, what are you guys talking about?
Oh, so last week they introduced the factions back. There are 3 factions. One is Dead Orbit, Future Walkout, and New Monarchy. And I think it's basically like they have like these like when you go on a world, one of the worlds, like they have like these little they have some stuff that you could do, like random stuff, like secure this, blow up this, and it'll go toward basically, and it'll basically go towards your faction, and whoever's faction won, like they would get like a discount on the weapons, whatever weapon was on that week or whatever, and then it would be I think the public could then there, but it's at a higher price. It's for higher glimmer than for everyone else outside the faction, but the faction that actually won, they get it out of like a huge, like a very, very like low discount, huge discount. Sorry.
But I don't think these people realize that the weapon we wanted was from Future War, and no one can get it now. Not even people in Future War can get it, because the only way you could buy it is if it's a faction one, like period. So literally the best auto rifle in the game we lost. Well, sorry, best pulse rifle in the game we lost. Thanks, guys.
Well, I kind of wanted
nice things.
I got nice things because I wanted the stealth rifle from Dead Orbit. So
it's horrible. Nameless Midnight, which you can literally get from beating the story, is better than that. The exotic Mida is better than that. Like what? Like
it's
that's a horrible scout rifle.
It's gonna go to
horrible scout rifle.
Well,
horrible scout rifle.
You're the only one complaining about it. You're the only one complaining about it.
Everyone is gonna complain about it because everyone is saying go for Future War, because Future War is the pulse rifle, which is like it was like the best thing ever. Like that was hands down, that could have been the best gun in the game. And now we won't have it because Dead Orbit people had to go win. I can go do that on YouTube.
The salty.
I will sprinkle out all over you.
Wow.
Cause I just went there. Okay. So there's factions, which is something that we just mentioned in the stream. So thanks for bringing that up. There is one other thing. I've noticed that the developers are challenging players and offering rewards now.
Yeah. Yes. I saw that on the Destiny app. Apparently, I think they were waiting like the Crucible or something like that. They were like playing people via the Crucible like at random, and if you won, then you got a banner. You got a banner for it. That's basically all it was this week. But I thought that was pretty cool.
Okay. Because I thought you got an engram for it or something like that.
I could check the app. Come on.
But,
Yeah, it was an emblem.
Oh, emblem. Okay. Would have been interesting if they were giving away like engrams or something like that instead. Special engrams. But okay, yeah, so I think now we've hit every topic. Is there anything else that you guys have to say? Nope.
I'm disappointed in people everywhere.
What?
Wow.
Disappointed in people everywhere because
Was
Dead
it-
Order won.
Because he didn't get the gun that he wants. He's disappointed.
I didn't even join Future War, you know. I joined New Monarchy.
I got more RP as well.
And I won it, and I want Future War to win. I just assumed they would have won. I mean, if I joined, they wouldn't have won anyway. Because I didn't farm for faction tokens.
I mean, regardless, I think they said you could change it every week, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, but those guns are gone. I think. Well, we could check.
Yeah, you don't even know, and you mad.
I did, man.
Like, you don't even know if they gone forever. And you like dead salty over
I'm
here in the
assuming
corner.
they gone forever. So
You dead mad over here in this left screen.
I am incredibly mad. I don't know what's
My.
that.
You get over it.
Wow.
Yes. So with that
I'll get
salty
over
ending.
When Anthem comes out, I won't have this issue.
Okay. Great for you. I'll be here on Destiny 2.
No, but Anthem looks so beautiful. Like, oh my goodness. Oh.
I never even heard about this game until you started bringing it up in the group.
You didn't see the trailer for it?
Okay, the trailer for it is really nice, but we really shouldn't be talking.
Wait. It's like Pacific Rim meets Destiny way. It's crazy way.
Kind of.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Pacific Rim was good.
I'm gonna end this stream here before we go off on a real tangent. And Chris like derails us completely. Okay, so yeah, thanks for thanks for joining, everyone. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being here. Thanks for actually being part of the stream, you guys. And until next week.